What? Yes, so Hairless here. Today we have another Patreon request. Thank you to Lupe for this request. This is Utopia by Forestella, and this is the follow-up to our previous Forestella reaction, which was Save Our Lives. Save Our Lives was great, really, from the music to the video. It was so inventive and unique. I loved it. If you haven't seen my reaction to that, please do watch it. Card for that will be up here. There was a lot to analyze in it, and that was the precursor to what we're about to watch now. There's no point me recapping what we saw in Save Our Lives. I've done a whole video on that, but I will mention how it ended. There was the kind of after the song bit which showed the temptation through the apple in the Garden of Eden, and also we saw the world tree growing, obviously teasing us for Utopia. But what do they mean? Why were they in there? Well, I guess we're about to find out. Utopia is parts 4, 5 and 6 of this 9-part sequence. I really have no idea what to expect musically, visually. By the title, Utopia, in terms of subject matter, I would have expected this to perhaps be an idealism. In Save Our Lives, there were tropes of begging to be taken to a better place. They were saying, save our lives on earth, lead us to the gracious light. So I thought maybe this song is about that now that they've had their lives saved. But no, I looked at the lyrics, things aren't looking so bright. It seems to be a song about temptation. And with Save Our Lives ending with the apple, the temptation of man, that was probably a big hint. And also there are a lot of references to Valencia. I wonder why that is. Alright, let's get straight into this one. Quite excited.
Place like this place to celebrate life.
From Carmela to Malvarosa,
Parenthesis, it's you and me. Now we're here in Utopia.
Don't let temptation bring you down.
Down from the trees, I'm on my knees. Now we'll be in Utopia. 10 billion BC,
And now you're free.
welcome to our Utopia. Wasn't the Messiah of Utopia. Turn it into dystopia. Utopia. White doves temper temptations and more. White doves attempt to unify and find love. 'Cause we are branches on the world tree of life. Seems so clear.
What? Wow. Boy, okay. I imagine I'm going to have to go and play through bits a few times here before speaking about them. This is one of those bits of music that just physically affected me immediately. No idea what I was expecting, but it was not that. Alright, let's go over and analyse that. Act 4, Falles. If you don't want to hear my analysis, skip to the timestamp here. So we started with a kind of prelude, a bit of music before the actual song started, even though I know this is part of the song. It just seems entirely separate. It was this pensive, arpeggiated piano opening, made especially so because it's the bass line that was really the driving force here. The right hand didn't do much movement. I'll quickly show you on the piano what we hear. They're outlining the chord of C minor, but instead of just going, because that would be 1 2 1 2, 4 in total, they're doing 6 in total, 3 and 3, so they're adding in the second note here, so it sounds. Maybe it's just me, but hearing this, my brain is now thinking of the number 3. There are 3 chapters in this performance, and this is part of 3 performances. 3 is the number of dimensions we can perceive. 3, the Trinity. There's a certain significance and weight to the number 3, I feel. Maybe that's just me and my subconscious here. So this pensive opening is contrasting what we see visually. We see some doves, which are a sign of peace, with the word Utopia there in the middle. But then the rest of the imagery that follows, withering plants, lightning, eclipse, fire, burning tree, turned into a dystopia. Yeah, this makes more sense. So after that introductory section, then we get the song starting, and this is a big change musically. It immediately reminded me of like a circus. You know, we've got a lot going on, and it's the brass instruments that really stand out to me. It gives it this kind of like oompa feel. Oompa, oompa. And that section of music before Forestella starts singing really gives me the idea of opposites, of contrast. We hear the bass come in, and then pizzicato strings much higher up come in. And the dancing, I'm not quite sure what to make of it, but I'm getting this heavy idea of juxtaposition. Forestella is standing still, dressed in white, above ground level. The dancers are on ground level, dancing, moving, dressed in black. Perhaps Forestella represent Utopia and the dancers dystopia? I mean, even the dancing style seems to be a little bit contradictory. It's clearly contemporary dance, but it has many classical elements to it. Now, this is only my 4th reaction to Forestella, but this entry when they come in is completely different to anything I've heard them do before. Their vocals sound quite heavily treated. They're really leaning into the idea of using technology to enhance the sound. To me, it's very interesting because I haven't heard something like this from them before. I think it's very, very catchy. We get the word mirror and then sliding into city lights.
Stars are looking in the mirror. City lights.
Again, this idea of contrast, the slide up, the glissando. It covers every possible note between the start note and the end note. And then they go into city lights, disjointed, quick repeated notes, the same note, the complete opposite of a glissando. And then we hear this phrase shine golden dreams twice, and the repeat is sung higher up in falsetto. It's quite angelic. That there seems quite utopian. But then it goes straight into this note in the lower register. And then this instrumental section just reminds me of a fairground or something, a circus, like an entertainment show. Like a fanfare. The lyrics get a little bit hard to understand here, so I'm going to turn on the subtitles. Here they're saying head down to Utopia, and Utopia seems just like that, like a kind of entertainment place, a carnival, a place for you to go and have fun, give into temptation. The words they're singing here are just so quick, they are pretty much not understandable. This like interpretation, confusion, okay? Remember this idea of confusion. Right, and then we get this sudden change again. Act 4, Fallas. I had to Google that, and it's an annual celebration in Valencia to commemorate St. Joseph. These images you see on screen suit this music perfectly. They're just a bit crazy, a bit wacky. It's obvious what they're doing musically to create this unhinged and crazy feeling. Changing keys sporadically and unexpectedly, moving up and down between the registers, contrasting disjointed lines with smoother lines.
The first time we met, oh yes, we got together. No place like this place to celebrate life.
And I got strong Bohemian Rhapsody vibes from this bit.
From Carmilla to Malvarosa. Thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening.
And just because of how kind of crazy and out there this is, I kind of think Bohemian Rhapsody was probably a source of inspiration for them. So amidst all this craziness, Forestella are also kind of playing around with their ranges. And that idea of confusion I mentioned earlier, that kind of comes into play here. We've got Beidou Hoon using his falsetto to sing high. He is not the countertenor of the group. And this line too, it's an example of how weird things are harmonically.
Don't let temptation bring you down.
These are the chords that we heard there. B minor, D major, A minor. And then the melody outlines D major on Don't Let Temptation Bring You Down.
Don't let temptation bring you down.
And then we finish on D flat. I won't get into why, but that sequence of chords, they are kind of related to each other, but just not in a way you'd expect. And when I showed you on the piano there, it maybe made sense to move to those chords because the parts don't move that much, but music in general isn't always that easy. You usually do have to move a bit for things to sound natural. I think we can all agree this is quite unnatural sounding. I mean, there's a lot going on here, but what really stood out to me is the white or lighter colour versus red contrast. Red hair, not red top like everyone else. But then we do get the one red top. It's like this imagery, angels versus devils. Just after that, on the word dystopia, I was expecting a completely different chord. It could have gone various ways, such as this, but instead they go. And then to further add to this agitated, chaotic tension, the chord they're singing, which is the chord of D sharp, moves from to this, which is now a completely different chord, F sharp, whilst the music remains in D sharp, as we can hear by the bass repeating the note. Then we get more modulations, key changes in very quick succession before we finally arrive in the major, the happy key, where everything is white. They're even talking about white doves. But the music, now it's falling chromatically. We hear this in the bass. Like a gradual descent into temptation. Alright, this is a real sensory overload. Let's go from Act 5 Suppers, just where we paused.
말 벌었어. Not from the trees, among the leaves. Now you're building Utopia. 10 billion BC, and now you're free. Welcome to our Utopia. Don't let temptation bring you down. Branches on the word tree of life. Seems so I am the light of fire, suffer, kill.
I don't know if I can handle this. We're only about 2/3 of the way as well. I need a bit of a breather. There's Act 6. Alright, let's go over Act 5. This is nuts. This is remarkable. From the video I get the sense of human greed, of civilization, of wealth, but in turn greed, a lot of gold. We have the crown. We have the apple, which signifies temptation, in a crystal bowl, in a bed of roses. A bed of roses is usually a sign of comfort. In this case, I get the impression it's comfort in wealth. Yeah, I just really like this line. Stars are looking in the mirror. The main melody there slides up from here to here, but this is made so much more impactful by the other line that's sliding up that we hear, which goes. So together they sound like this. They start off clashing with each other and then they separate. And then we heard this kind of like a cuckoo clock descending melody that sounded like this. It could have been anything. It could be pizzicato strings, I'm not quite sure. But then that's taken over by a brass instrument on the words are looking in. And that's going. So both of those lines individually stood out to me. But then when you put them together, they make this descending D major scale, but starting on the note A instead. Which we then kind of expect to carry on. And finish on D. Also, I wonder what the significance is of the time here, 3:10. I did mention the feeling of threes earlier with the Trinity, etc. I wonder if that's relevant or not. Alright, Alright, let's quickly go over why the next part might sound a little bit weird harmonically. Obviously on the word modernity, we get this unexpected modulation key change.
Beauty, enlightenment, and modernity.
But it's really the bass part underneath here that plays an important role. On the word enlightenment, the bass part has this chromatic rise. A clever word to choose to do that to as well, enlightenment, moving up, progression. Let's listen to it slowed down so it's a bit easier to hear.
Beauty, enlightenment, and modernity.
And then from this smooth chromatic rise, it then plays the same note and then it jumps down again.
Enlightenment, and modernity.
This music is organised chaos. This is just one part, but every part that I've heard or I can hear individually is nuts. Let alone when you put them all together. It's so clever. So then we get this bit from Camellia to Mava Rosa, which we also heard earlier. I'm going to play the first time we heard it, and then listen how after that line we get a couple more lines before we then hear the line down on my knees.
From Camellia to Malvarosa. Power at the sea, it's you and me. Now we're here in Utopia. Don't let temptation bring you down. Down from the trees, I'm on my knees.
So we had those two sections in between. So they repeated that phrase again here.
From Camellia to Malvarosa. Down from the trees, I'm on my knees.
But then down from the trees, I'm on my knees line comes immediately afterwards. And then about 10 seconds later,
Don't let temptation bring you down.
we get that line, don't let temptation bring you down, that we heard in the middle before. This is dystopian, it's confusing us. We've heard these lines before, but in a different order. Yet the overall feel is the same, like it's a repeat. You know, I feel like I'm going mad. I had to listen to that to make sure that what I heard was right. And then again, I just love this line.
White doves, temper, temptations and more.
The effect that's been applied on the vocals really reminds me of Imogen Heap. You'll recognise this clip if you've seen my pentatonics videos. This effect makes the harmony seem so much more scrunchy versus an acoustic sound. And this scrunch helps to relay the message.
White doves attempt to unify and find love.
Attempt to unify. This idea of unification, and what else do they do to exaggerate this idea of unity? Well, they're singing homophonically. The same words with the same rhythms at the same time as each other.
Attempt to unify and find love.
Alright, now on to Act 6. Dies Irae, the Last Judgment Day, or literally translated as the Day of Wrath. How foreboding. I'll start from a bit beforehand because we had this guitar solo, and then this I am of the vocals. I thought he was going to say,
I see a little silhouette of a man.
yeah, I think this is definitely inspired by Bohemian Rhapsody. Alright, let's carry on to the end.
I am the light of fire, suffer, kill this scene of sound.
As of the tempest busting glory. Out of the clouds of heaven's raining. Están oscuras. En mar su altura. Invisible the moon and invisible sun. Hear the people cry, die. From the sky to the side, I hear the rise of demonstrator. Pray for unity, but divisions I'm seeing from you. Lasers in the eyes of the lost are killing me.
Están oscuras.
Hear the people cry, die. From the sky to the side, I hear the rise of demonstrator. Must be one and one and be together in eternity. Utopia. 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 Utopia.
I'm dreaming of a Meliora.
Don't cry 'cause you're
The fathers of Utopia.
This life seems like temptation. Head down to Utopia.
Oh, I got shivers. that has got me very excited for the final 3 chapters, the 3rd overall part of the trilogy. Wow, okay, need a second to gather my thoughts. I liked how this last section kept showing snippets of Utopia, you know, a lot of greenery, trees, nature. It's as though it's giving us a glimmer of hope. Don't give in to temptation. Alright, let's go over some final bits from that last section. Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody. Definitely an inspiration. And Forestella are definitely one of those groups that are so suited for this, well, classical crossover type of music, isn't it? So that whole section, I mean, blimey, there's just so much going on. I mean, we've even got these blindfolded people in the back. We get one mention of heaven, even though it's a warning, but the music here reflects that. It's temporarily reduced in texture. It becomes orchestral with these sweet pizzicato strings.
Out of the clouds of heaven's raining.
Straight into this, you know, quite harrowing videography, especially this bit here.
People cry, die.
You know, that just looks like hell. Hear the people crying, dying. And interestingly, they choose this part to change the music to major, happy. And they also implement a glissando.
Cry, die.
I can't decide if that is more like crying, like whining, or if it's happy and they're using it in a rather morbid way. I guess music like this is open to interpretation. Let me know your thoughts on that. Alright, then we got a bit more of that, and then we get this bit. Hear the roars of dim estrellas. Dim stars. There's this really eerie sound in the background that does remind me of stars, actually. And I don't know what it is, but it just reminds me. And then they're talking about being one together in eternity. We get visuals of red, fiery chair. And there's a super deep voice talking these words underneath everything. This to me is pretty much a direct reference to the underworld, to hell. We then get the repeated chorus, Utopia, and then we get this more rocky sounding voice on the words I'm dreaming of.
I'm dreaming of.
And then Cho Ming-yu, the tenor, has the repeat of that phrase in a more pure voice, more choir-like, singing in Latin ad meliora, which means better things, like towards better things.
Ad meliora.
And then here...
Cry 'cause you're...
Sorry? That's that top C sharp. That's higher than... I didn't know he had that in his locker. And it's even more grandiose sounding because of the choral basses that we hear underneath singing ah.
Don't cry 'cause you're...
Yeah, mad. Absolutely mad. And then after the song finishes, we get another little extra bit. And we again have that 1 2 3 1 2 3 motion that I spoke about we had in the prelude to the bit before the song started. And of course, the apple. But this time, Kang Hyung-ho bites it. Yeah, it's getting me excited for the final 3 acts. Alright, I'm probably going to need to watch this 10 times more, absolute minimum, to even have a chance of noticing everything. Musically too, you know, there's so much going on. It's just insane. Alright, let's leave it there. Thank you again for this request. And thank you to all of you for watching. Would very much appreciate a like and subscribe. If you enjoy my content and want to support me and join the community and vote on polls for future reactions, you can do so by joining the Patreon or YouTube memberships linked below. And I will see you next time.